Alright, what's up guys? Here with a tier list of sorts. It's more of a rating system for... I'm going to do as many of the characters as I can get through in Marvel Future Fight, but for right now in this list that I've done is just the tier 3s. And so the way I have them rated is these are the categories I used. I used Timeline Battle and Alliance Conquest for PvP. And as far as PvE goes, I have Alliance Battle Extreme, World Boss Ultimate, and Squad Battle. And as you can see here, I have them each weighted. So, for instance, the Timeline Battle and the Alliance Conquest are out of 50 possible points. And the Squad Battle is out of 50 possible points. But the World Boss Ultimate and the Alliance Battle Extreme are both out of 100 points. And that's just personal preference. I value ABX and World Boss Ultimate at the very highest. And then Squad Battle and both of the PvP sections are slightly lower for me, although still important. So if you want, you can use this more as a general guideline. I would say that the rating totals are kind of my personal opinion of things. So one other disclaimer quickly is that this list specifically is going to be entirely like if you had perfect maxed out builds, and like for instance the PvP section will be if you have a PvP build, and the PvE will be if you have a full PvE build. I'll do one where it's just like overall value, right? So like if you were in the real world and couldn't switch obelisks back and forth, which would be I'll do more ratings for that later, but for now this is what I have. I'll do that on a separate list so we can see who is like the highest value character in Marvel Future Fight, as opposed to just the strongest overall, I think. So we start at the top. They're in kind of an order, but not really. I started with the 1600 CCF guys up here. We have Jean Grey, been one of the strongest characters in Marvel Future Fight for a very long time. Pretty much since she's released, she's been one of the strongest characters. She's been the strongest character for a lot of her lifespan. She kind of fell off, but right around when she started falling off, X-Men Red Jean Grey came out and she skyrocketed back to being the #1 in the game, or so most people would say. So we'll start off with Timeline Battle, where she gets all 50 points out of the 50 possible. The only counter, well, I shouldn't say that. The most reliable counter to Jean Grey when you're in Timeline Battle is just another Jean Grey. I should also note that all of the Timeline Battles is on auto, because on manual a lot of different of characters can score 50 out of 50 on manual, because that's just how the AI works. You can, I mean, Jean Grey, there's lots of stupid tricks that don't work on auto, and there's no like live PvP in Marvel Future Fight, so the Timeline Battle scores are all assuming you're on auto play. So Jean Grey gets the 50 out of 50 in Timeline Battle. She has incredible AI. She uses the 5th skill whenever it's off cooldown, and I mean, you literally just press, she uses 5 and whoever you're playing against dies. Alliance Conquest, she scores almost a perfect, a 48 out of 50. I don't think I gave anybody a 50 out of 50 in Alliance Conquest, just because the AI and it's 3v3, so there isn't anybody in Alliance Conquest that's as dominating as Jean Grey in Timeline Battle, I don't think. So you can see she got a 98 out of the possible 100 in the PvP section. So for the PvE, she scores an 85 out of 100 for ABX. And this is only because of her most recent uniform, making her available for the universal typing. So that means universal female hero and universal hero. I am fairly certain, though, that after the release of Phyla-Vell, that Captain Marvel does actually overtake her once again as the female superhero, because the female universal hero day, because the Phyla-Vell's buff is much better for Captain Marvel than it is for Jean Grey. But I think as of right now, I haven't had a chance to test with Silver Surfer yet, but Jean Grey is just slightly the best for universal hero. World Boss Ultimate, she can do Collapsidian, she can do Ebony Maw, but neither of them like too crazy, just well. She can go very high on both of them, but she's not like a top clear of either of them. She's pretty darn good at Thanos as well, because she doesn't really rely on any all defense down. For Squad Battle, so the ratings for Squad Battle are mostly based off of Vibranium League, right? So Jean Grey doesn't have a day in Vibranium League, so she scores a 15. But I didn't score her lower, even though she's literally not used on any of the teams in Vibranium, because she is used on some of the teams in the leagues below, such as Platinum, the one right below Vibranium. She's used for a Mutant Day. I think it's Mutant Hero. She's on a Kitty Pryde and Jean Grey team. So for the squad battle section, essentially, if you see a 15 out of 50, it means they're not used in Vibranium, but they are a top scorer in the league just below Vibranium. So for the total, out of 350 possible points on my rating system, Jean Grey hits a 278, and these aren't in order of totals. And I can tell you right now that this is the second highest score, and I'm sure you can see on the list who's the highest one right now, but it was a little bit surprising to me when I went through all the scores. Alrighty, on to our second 1600 CCF character is Thanos, with his most recent uniform, of course, a 48 out of 50 in Timeline and Alliance Conquest. Not much to say about Alliance Conquest. He's a monster, just like Jean Grey. My alliance is pretty competitive in Alliance Conquest. We hover anywhere from, like, we've been as high as about 45 as far as alliances in the world, and we typically hover around like 100-ish. So we're a pretty competitive Alliance Conquest guild that we always have one running, and Thanos is maybe even deserving a point higher than Jean Grey, but I can't quite bring myself to put him there, because he is terrifying in Alliance Conquest. And in Timeline as well, he's obviously a powerhouse, but the AI is different in Timeline than it is in Alliance Conquest. So and the fact that it's a 1v1 instead of 3v3. So against Thanos, things like Silver Surfer, Jean Grey, and Black Widow do a lot better against Thanos in Timeline than they do in Alliance Conquest, where he can just stomp them sometimes. Alright, on to ABX. Thanos scores a 90, a very strong showing in ABX, because he is the top scorer for one day of the week, being Universal Villain. Not much to say about that. World Boss Ultimate, he gets a 60. He used to be higher than this back in the day, but he's kind of fallen off as more really strong World Boss Ultimate clears have come around. He also suffers a bit. He was a lot stronger for that brief period of time where you could use Weapon Hex to put the 100% all defense down and then smash him with your own to fill up the all defense down. But now that is mostly a thing of the past, he's back down to 60 out of 100 for World Boss Ultimate. He can clear Cull Obsidian. He can clear his own Thanos World Boss Ultimate stage. And other than that, he can do other ones, but those are the only ones that I would actually really consider using him for. Squad Battle, he gets a 10 out of 50. He is not usable this week, or any week so far in Vibranium. He's not part of any of those teams. There's a Universal Villain, but I believe it's Universal Villain Human. Let's check. Yeah, Universal Villain Human. And I guess you can't see because of the way I cropped it, but it's Universal Villain Human, so he's not allowed on that day. And as far as I can remember, he's not used in Platinum, so he scores a very low 10 out of 50, because even on the days he is allowed, he scores a very, very low amount compared to a lot of others in Squad Battle. So that puts him at a total of 256. Thanos gets really hard carried by the fact that he's the second strongest PvP character in the game, like very close behind Jean Grey. Alrighty, on to the third 1600 CCF champ. We have Silver Surfer, which is inconclusive, but we'll go from where we are. A 45 out of 50 in Timeline. He is an absolute monster with manual, and on autoplay he is no slouch, but he is a little bit weaker than if you're manual. But on manual you can cheese anybody in the entire game with Silver Surfer. You literally just run in circles until your third skill is up and you can kill anybody. So again, the Timeline battles is based off of autoplay, not manual. Alliance Conquest, this one, I feel like if any in this whole category, I may have placed him a little bit low for Alliance Conquest. But we've only had 2 Alliance Conquests since I've unlocked Silver Surfer, and I used him early on a Jean Grey team that he did clear, and I used him on another stage that was like a Tier 3 Apocalypse and a Tier 3 Quicksilver with a Wasp lead. and he did clear both of those pretty easily. The Jean Grey 5th skilled him once, and he died, but after the revive, he just cleaned house. I haven't had enough experience to know, but I'm fairly confident that 45 is a pretty good spot for him, because I don't think he will consistently clear Jean Greys because of just the way the AI works in his Alliance Conquest, but he does destroy pretty much every other character besides Jean Grey and Thanos. Seems like he's just going to sweep the floor with them, so 45 seems a good spot, which scores him a 90 out of 100 for the PvP section. And the inconclusiveness for the PvE section is here because I do not have an ABX score for him yet, because the Universal Hero Day is still another 4 days away, so maybe I'll make a very short video after if he does score really high with a Rage. Yeah, but World Boss Ultimate, he hits an 85 out of 100. That's a pretty good score as far as World Boss clears go, because he can clear Call extremely efficiently. He relies heavily on his all defense down, so he suffers against Thanos, but he could also do, for instance, Ebony Maw if you wanted to, and all of the new ones, obviously. So yeah, his all defense down stacks extremely high. I have a full PvP build on him on my account, and he can still clear Cull Obsidian as fast as my Sharon Rogers does with a full PvE build, so I know that if I slapped a Rage on him, he would absolutely annihilate super high stages of Cull. Squad Battle, he gets a 12. Not much to say. He's not using Vibranium, he's not using Platinum as far as I'm aware of, so he gets a pretty low score as far as that goes. You can 10 is about the minimum I put for Squad Battle for the most part. I think a couple characters are lower, but you can obviously, there's one a day for every league that is no restrictions, right? So like if Silver Surfer was your only chance, you could use him on no restrictions. He's just much worse than a lot of the other characters, so I put him at about a 12. And I can't give him a total because I don't know what he's going to score for ABX. Alrighty, Scarlet Witch. Newest uniform, 38 out of 50 for timeline. She's just a little too squishy for timeline, even with a full PvP build. In Alliance Conquest, however, she's equally squishy, but she can absolutely one-shot whole teams if she uses her 5th skill. It's all out to the AI, but she can annihilate certain teams. So she earns a 40 out of 50, which is pretty good. 78 out of 100 for the PvP section, and for the PvE section, she doesn't have an ABX day. There's no female Blast Day or Blast Hero. There's a Blast Male Day. The only day she can be used on is no restrictions, and she scores fine on no restrictions day. She's not anywhere near the top scorer for no restriction day. World Boss Ultimate, she clears Cull. She clears Ebony extremely well. I mean, she has the mind control, the mind damage everywhere. She just destroys Ebony, but she is okay against Cull, and then everybody else is pretty bad, so about a 75 seemed reasonable to me. For Squad Battle, she scores a 15. And like I said, a 15 means she's not used at all in Vibranium, which she's not, but in, I believe, Platinum, she is a top scorer for one of the days, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So a total of 218 out of 350. This is the lowest one so far. Assuming that Silver Surfer gets even a reasonable ABX score, he will be above her as well on these rankings. On to Quicksilver, another powerhouse in PvP. A 43 out of 50 for timeline, and the same for Alliance Conquest. This is assuming he's using either an authority or a regen, or potentially a greed, but probably not. Probably an authority or a regen. Native penetration is always good. Scarlet Witch has that too, forgot to mention it. But he is significantly tankier than Scarlet Witch because he has very long iframes in 1 and 4, and he has a short iframe on 5 and 3. He's in iframe a lot of the time, as well as the fact that he has a crazy amount of guaranteed dodge. I think it's 45% guaranteed dodge, and if you're building him for PvP, you're going to be maxing out his normal dodge as well. So if you don't have ignore dodge, you are going to have a very tough time killing this Quicksilver. He mostly dies in timeline battle to iframe ignore characters or Jean Grey with a CTP of Greed. As far as ABX goes, he gets an 80 out of 100 because he is the second top scorer for Speed Hero Day. And Luna Snow is the only one that beats him for Speed Hero, I believe. And she's paywall, so potentially if you don't have Luna, you could always get Quicksilver, build them up, and have a much lower score, but still pretty good. So 80 is about where teams that are the second highest scorers I've rated them around 80 for ABX. World Boss Ultimate, he is maybe the best clearer in the game of Corvus because of so much ignored dodge he has natively. He has, I believe, 50%, and the top build for him, I think, is a CTP of Energy, which is what I have running on him right now, which gives you a bunch more ignore dodge, so he just is built to destroy Corvus Glaive. Other than that, he clears Proxima, and he also clears Thanos because he doesn't rely on any all defense down. Squad battle, 15 out of 50, so you know what that means. It's not used in Vibranium, but he is a top scorer in, I believe, Platinum. I can't remember. I only spent 1 week in each of the leagues below, but that leaves him at 246 out of 350. A solid score. Next up, we have Doctor Strange. And for the PvP section, we have a 41 out of 50 for Timeline Battle. In Timeline Battle, his AI is pretty bad. It never uses the 5th skill. It mostly spams the 2nd skill whenever possible, and also his 1st skill, which is iframe ignore, even though it's not listed. He's fallen off. He used to be a lot stronger, but a lot of these iframe ignore characters that have released are kind of damning to him because they pretty much destroy him. Alliance Conquest, 40 out of 50, not too shabby at all. He's fully capable of clearing out a lot of teams. It's just that the threats these days have become very scary, and he's not tanky enough to tank full teams of threats sometimes, so he doesn't get the highest Alliance Conquest score, but not too shabby at all. As far as ABX scores go, I believe he is the second to top scorer for a Blast Hero. I believe with a Rage he is. Cable is the number 1 right now. I don't know what Star-Lord scores, so he could pass him. Not Blast Hero, sorry, Blast Mail Day. I don't know if I said that. So I think he's the second top scorer, so I gave him an 85. That's with a CTP of Rage, of course. World Boss Ultimate, CTP of Rage. He can completely lock down any of the world bosses that don't have debuff immune. However, he doesn't really damage Proxima. He might lack damage against Corvus, but as long as you have enough time, it's literally, with Doctor Strange, it is a race against time. It's literally ABX, because you can freeze the world boss in place forever, so potentially I even scored him a little bit low for this section for World Boss Ultimate. In Squad Battle, he's not in Vibranium, and he's just not used anywhere pretty much. 12 out of 50, because you could get an okay score in No Restriction Day with him, but nothing too special, leaving him at a 258 out of 350 possible. On to Deadpool, the sleeper destroyer of this whole list that I rated personally. Timeline Battle. He gets a 42 out of 50. If you're a tier 3 full PvP Deadpool, it can be quite scary. He one-shots characters with his 4th skill easily. This is assuming the holiday uniform, of course. And Alliance Conquest, there are very scary Deadpools that will do the same. You really have to use multiple threats to kill a Deadpool, somebody with iframe ignore. So really somebody else above him on the list, essentially, in Alliance Conquest. ABX scores, it's not fantastic. You can use him. He's worse than Quicksilver for Speed Hero Day. Yeah, that's pretty much it. He's about, he's just worse. He's the 3rd best, I think, for Speed Hero. Nothing spectacular, but if you need to, you could use it. World Boss Ultimate is where it is crazy, because he, with his new uniform, or I should say her new uniform, because the Lady Deadpool holiday uniform, and you use Dr. Voodoo or White Fox leadership for the extra debuff, and you can clear any of the world bosses except for Thanos faster than any other character that I know of. I think it's the fastest clears. It's for sure my fastest clears, and I don't even have tier 3. I use tier 2, and it's plenty to clear every world boss. He's just absurd. I decided not to give anybody 100 out of 100 because he doesn't clear Thanos very well, and yeah, so I docked him 2 points for not being able to clear Thanos super high. yeah, I guess to get 100, you'd have to be able to clear literally all of them at max, like super fast. But no character in the game can do that. Deadpool is the closest. He gets by far the highest World Boss Ultimate score at 98 out of 50, or 98 out of 100, sorry. And for squad battle, he actually is used in Vibranium for a Speed Mutant Hero, I believe is the day, or maybe it's just Speed Mutant. I saw a Cynic Alex video where he used a Rogue, which was close, but Deadpool still, max build, seemed like he still edged it out by a little bit. He scores like 1.4 million at the very top end, I believe, which means that Deadpool is at 285 out of 350, and let me take a quick look through. Yeah, and like I thought, unless Silver Surfer is the top ABX scorer and he gets like a 90 for that day, I'm still not even certain that's enough, but Deadpool is actually the highest rated character on this list, which is crazy. Yeah, I guess there's not much to say. I just didn't expect that, but after doing them section by section like this, and the fact that I have World Boss Ultimate rated at 100 points, where he absolutely shines, he just is the highest rated character. What's up, guys? If you made it this far, it's the end of the first part of the video. It ended up being very long, so I'm splitting up into two parts that are about 20 minutes each. I'll leave a link to the new one in the description. Let me know in the comments if you would rather continue to see the chart like I have in this video, or if you want me to put gameplay of each of the characters on top. Because I hadn't decided, and I decided to leave the charts up so you guys could see for yourself what I was talking about and what I rated them. But I could also just show the chart for like a minute and then switch over to just some gameplay of each of the characters. So let me know down below.